Be sure to check the weather though before you go anywhere. This is really important because you don't want to be prepared for sunny weather and get what you see on the screen here. You need to be prepared, bring the proper gear, otherwise you'll be miserable. Additionally, you're going to want to like time it so that you go in the right time of year. So for instance, the Sierras are only really available in the summer between June and September, unless you want to brave sub-freezing temperatures and snow, which is a major hazard on the trail. Before you go, you're going to want to plan your trip. So here's a sample itinerary for Cottonwood Lakes. Basically, this is not an intimidating thing. Just do your research, kind of figure out where you're going to hike, where you're going to camp for the night. You want to limit your mileage for the day because you probably can't walk 20 miles a day. So aim for like anywhere from 4 to 8 if you're a beginner to intermediate, and you're going to need to figure out kind of where you're going to be and make sure you have enough food for that amount of days. And very important, make sure that you tell somebody where you're going before you leave, because if you get in trouble out there, then you need to have somebody to know like what day they should call the rangers to go out and help you. And what to bring, I'm going to pitch it to Jose here.
All right, so there's obviously like a ton of options for what to bring, but there's some basic things that you can't really do without. So for example, you obviously need a backpack that's comfortable for you. And then you also need like forms of shelter and to sleep at night. So you need a sleeping bag and like a ground pad, and then also like enough clothes to keep warm. And then it's always a good idea to like have something for the rain or for the sun, like a hat and rain jacket. And then you can check out our website. It has a much more extensive packing list. You can see the top of it on the screen. And then obviously there's a ton of stuff, different blogs on the internet that you can check out. So water is probably one of the most important things. Water. Because it's like one of the main limiting things for you on your trip, especially if there's not if there's not a drinking water station or any good streams around, then like you have to carry everything you need with you, which gets really heavy really fast. And then if you are hiking somewhere where there is water, then you can use different like filtration devices to try to filter water from streams. And so like, for example, in the Sierras, you can usually do that. And there's a bunch of different options. Like you can do tablets or pumps or like those life straw things. Just good to find like what works for you, and then just make sure you don't run out of water. So for your backpack, it's pretty expensive to get a backpacking bag. So there's a bunch of different options for you. You can try to borrow one from a friend. You can use our Slack channel, like the Gear Ask channel. And usually there's people willing to lend you a hand. And you can also rent it from various different places. I think there's still like the outdoor shop on campus that sometimes has gear. And then you can try to buy a used one or also a new one if you have saved up enough. I got mine off of Facebook from some random guy, and it's not super nice, but it does the job. And then as a last resort, you can just use your school bag or any other backpack, and it works fine too, as long as you don't have to carry a ton of stuff. Sleeping bag and pad, that's kind of self-explanatory. You just got to make sure that your sleeping bag is warm enough for the weather. Like if it's the winter, then it gets pretty cold, especially out in the desert. You might not expect it as much. You just want to make sure you're warm, and then have a pad underneath to like protect you from the ground, because the ground can either be like warm or cold or wet or something that you wouldn't want on you when you're sleeping. And as a group, as you're going on your backpacking trip, you need to have like a form of a tent between you, and you can kind of split up all the different group gear between different people to like make the weight more even. But you need a tent. Sometimes you can use a hammock if the weather's super nice. And then it's always great to have a tarp to either protect from the wet ground or from the rain or the sun. For food and how to cook it, there's like these small backpacking stoves. There's a lot of different options for that too. And then you also need like a little fuel canister. And I guess one piece of advice is just like check that you still have enough left before you go on a new trip, because like it's pretty bad if you like get out there and there's only like you're on empty. And then as far as food goes, there's also a lot of options, but just simple is best. My go-to is like peanut butter, and then it's also usually good to get stuff that wouldn't get smushed as easily. So like maybe tortillas over bread, for example. And then we also had a past seminar this fall on backcountry cooking, and there's a recording of that on our website that you can check out if you want more information. And so important thing is first aid. It's usually pretty simple. Like in the picture, you just need like some Band-Aids and gauze and different like ointments to treat like a cut or something like that. You can go like super prepared kits from the store. You can just kind of put one together. But it's probably always good to just be on the safe side. And then some important things that you definitely don't want to forget is like any of your personal medications, or if like anyone in your group has allergies that could come up, like make sure you have an EpiPen or like different things like that that you might need. And then duct tape is like always a must. You can like wrap it around a pencil or something so you don't have to take the whole roll. And that way you can like patch a hole in a bag or like in your tent if you really need to. And like maybe you can duct tape a cut if things get really dire. But yeah, I'll pass it off to Tyler now.
Just had to unmute myself. Thanks, Jose, for talking about gear. I know there's a couple things we left off the PowerPoint, but also like he mentioned a water filter. That's very important. And you can go to our website to see the extensive version of the packing list. So let's get to permits. So I don't know, hopefully many of you tuned in to learn more about this, because it's kind of a subject that a lot of people don't know about. But basically, what is a permit? It limits visitors to these wild areas to protect them. As you can see, is a picture of Mount Whitney and just how overrun it was at one point, I believe, with visitors. And you can't, like, people and nature can't coexist very well if there's this many people. It just doesn't happen. Like, it erodes the trail. It's going to scare all the wildlife away, and also you're going to have an accumulation of trash and waste. That's why we follow leave no trace principles. But the Forest Service and whatever governing entity is overseeing the wild areas, they need to make sure that they stay natural, or at least as natural as we can keep them. Permits also, you'll pay a small fee, and it funds the park rangers and ecosystem preservation, as well as trail maintenance, to make sure that your experience there is a good one. So how to get permits is actually really easy. You just have to plan in advance. This is the key thing. Basically, it depends on where you're going, because some places, and I should explain first off, a wilderness permit is different from a camping permit. It means that you're going in the backcountry to go camp along the trail, essentially, versus car camping, where that's a whole different permit, where you have a campground and you have a picnic table and stuff. But backcountry camping is a whole different animal. You just need to get that permit to go into whatever park that you want to. And from there, you can do kind of whatever you want. You can set your own itinerary. You can go to set your own schedule and visit certain lakes and things or attractions that you would like to visit. So it really depends on where you're going. Some places don't require permits, and those tend to be the spots that we like because it means they're cheaper and easier to get to. But other places, especially places that are more popular, like the Sierras, Mount Whitney, and some other popular mountains and national parks, Yosemite, Yellowstone, these places tend to have more strict permits. So permits should be obtained far in advance, as many spots have quotas that limit the number of people that can go. But first off, here's a few places that don't require permits. Sequoia National Forest does not. Los Padres, which is Santa Barbara and up by Big Sur, kind of the Central Coast area, you only need a fire permit, which is amazing because these places are very beautiful. You can see Big Sur in the top right there. And another place we like is Sespe Creek. I believe Sespe actually you might need to put a permit in your car though. Info on that's in the Backpacker's Bible if you need to know. But basically, you don't have to get like a camping permit for these places. Angeles National Forest is where we are, or very close to us, very close to LA. And some places there are Switzer Falls and the East Fork of the San Gabriel River. And if you want to go desert backpacking, you got to bring your water, which is heavy, but it's beautiful. So you can totally do that if you want. You don't need to pay or anything. Some places where permits are required include Inyo, which is very popular. It's the Eastern Sierra. Some popular trails there include Cottonwood Lakes, Thousand Island Lake, which is accessible from, I believe, the River Trail, High Trail, and Shadow Creek, as well as Mount Whitney. It's the most popular thing, and you've got to hop on that early to get that permit. In general, permits are available 6 months in advance. I looked up the recent rules for Inyo for this summer. They open 6 months in advance, and then they're going to have some rolling permits that'll open later on for those that miss the 6 month window. Also, Sequoia and Kings Canyon, which permits actually aren't available right now, but they opened February 9th. So I would get on that February 9th, try and get some permits for the summer. Yosemite permits also 6 months in advance, and those are very popular permits. So you're going to have to, again, go early. For Inyo, this is the process that you go through to secure the permit. And I know this too well because I spent all last summer trying to like checking every day to see if there were permits available for this date that I wanted to go backpacking. And so you go on and you check the availability. You can see down below, for instance, Baker and Green Lakes is available for 5 people on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So that's pretty available. Same with Beck Lake there. And these are entry points and entry dates. So you book the permit for the date that you're going to enter the park. And you can stay as long as you want in most places. And the permits are $6 a person for Inyo. And permits can be refunded up to 12 days before the trip. So you can book them now for like August, and you can cancel in July if you want. So when in doubt, I think they're pretty cheap. So you can just go for it and later change your mind. But you'll notice also you have to specify the group size and you have to pay that fee, but that's pretty much it. And I'll provide these links probably in our Slack in case you guys want to get right on after this and maybe see what permits are available for this summer. But here's Sequoia. Sequoia recently changed their permit system. You used to have to like fill out a form and email it, but luckily this year they are using the recreation.gov site, which is so much easier. So you're gonna do the same process as Inyo, except the difference here is that it's $15 plus an extra $5 per person. I think that's because it's a national park. It's a little more expensive. And also you're gonna have to pay an entry fee at the door, at the gate when you drive your car in too. So you have to keep that into account. And the per person fee can be refunded up to 7 days before your entry date. All right, moving on to Yosemite. Yosemite, a very popular park, obviously very beautiful. This is a whole different system. So you have to go here and enter the number of people, the start date, the trailhead region. I actually don't know Yosemite that well. I don't know if there's anybody else here that does, but there's tons of different places that you can enter at. And you'll have to do your research on that, or check out the Backpacker's Bible, might have some more details. And Yosemite is non-refundable. So those are three of our favorite destinations that require permits, and hopefully that helped to kind of understand a little bit better what the process is like. And again, it's very simple. You just got to do it and do it early so that you can make sure that you have a spot. So I know we covered a lot there, but we'll get to questions. You guys have any questions?
I'll ask a question.
Yeah, go for it.
What are you guys planning any trips this summer? Like, is there a place that you guys are like really looking forward to going to?
Oh, right. So we should mention this. So the Backpacking Club won't be running trips until COVID is over, but there were some of us staff members who were thinking of grabbing permits for maybe like July, August, and hoping that things are better by then. And maybe we can invite people and we can just open it up to the Slack and see who wants to come. So yeah, so keep that option in mind. But I'd say personally.
Do you know do you know where you guys were looking at?
I love Inyo, so I would like to check out some more trails there. How about you, Jose? Is there anywhere you're looking to go?
Also the Sierras, and then maybe Yosemite, but it's usually pretty crowded in the summer. So.
Yeah.
Saw that parts of Big Sur just opened up. So would you recommend that this time of year, or would it be a little too cold? Like if you didn't want to do like snow stuff. I don't really know like what the temperature ranges are.
Yeah, heck yeah. I'm glad you asked that. We went to Big Sur last year. I think last year was a crazy year. I actually went 3 times in January and it was beautiful. I went to 3 different trails. So I would definitely recommend. The only thing is there was a fire that burned like the northern part. So you're probably not going to want to go to Cone Peak, but a couple trails I would recommend are Dustra Flats and also I believe it's Buckeye Camp or Buckeye Trail to Buckeye Camp, that one. They're both in the Backpacker's Bible if you want to check them out. But beautiful this time of year. This is the perfect time to go. Assuming there's no rain, you have to make sure of that. Any other questions?
Are there just like any places that you recommend? I'm trying to figure out for the summer as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I would recommend, do you know like what skill level you're looking for? Like, are you looking for something that's pretty advanced or intermediate or easy?
I feel like intermediate, and I've done like several of like in Inyo a lot. I've done a lot of those, like the more popular ones, I think. So I'm trying to find like new places.
Yeah, for sure. One of my favorites is Thousand Island Lake, which again, I think there's 3 trails you can go on. The best one's the River Trail. You can also do Shadow Creek.
Yeah, I agree. That one is also really good.
Or Cottonwood Lakes and Kearsarge are also awesome.
Yeah, I've done those ones. So thank you for the Thousand Islands Lake. That's it.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
You could also try to get out to Catalina Island, hike the Trans Catalina Trail. That one is neat. Or in Joshua Tree, there's just like, you can just kind of hike and summit any peak you want. So that's kind of cool.
Any other questions out there? Anything in the chat?
I was just looking at just to see how to work the recreation.gov INYO one, and I don't know, I was like doing it for like the day after we get out of school, just as an example, and I don't know, it says like you have to put in the permit type, group size, and such like that, but it doesn't let me put in. Oh, I figured it out. Never mind.
You got it. Yeah, I think you have to put like overnight there, and then it'll let you. It's a little janky, but once you figure it out, it works pretty well. And when you're on there, like looking for permits, a lot of the time, like my problem was that a lot of them like don't give a lot of details on where exactly they're to, or like for instance, Thousand Island Lake, the permits aren't called Thousand Island Lake, they're called 3 different things. So that's where like the Backpacker's Bible is useful if you want to check up on certain trails and figure out like which permit connects to which destination. Yeah.
There's a question in the chat. Any recommendations for total beginners, like spots?
Ooh, total beginners. I think Cottonwood Lakes is a typical one for beginners. You don't have to do like a giant loop. You can just do an out and back. I think it's like maybe 5 miles each way. So that's a good one. Also, if you're looking for something that's a little like less stress, maybe local, you could do Sespe Creek is awesome right about now. Big Sur is a little tougher. You might not want to try that as a beginner.
I actually just did Sespe. It was amazing, super fun.
Cool. Nice.
Would recommend for sure.
How was the river? Was it like really high or?
It was not high at all. I kind of just like sat down and it got up to my chest, which was fun. But like it was still very warm, so it was cool.
Nice, good to know. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Is the 23 miles doable in 2 days?
I would recommend 3. It kind of killed me, but if you're like really, I'm not like a crazy good hiker, so if you're like really good, I'm sure you can do it.
Did you go to the hot springs or?
Yes, yeah, I did.
How was it? Was it worth the walk? Or?
It definitely was worth the walk. I ended up getting there past dark, and I like took a nap because I was so tired, and so I couldn't. I would recommend actually getting to the river at night because I could not find my way in the dark, and like because it'd be really fun to sit under there like under the moon. Instead, I woke up the next day and then hung out in the river, or in the springs.
Nice. Okay. Good information.
Tyler, can you talk about like getting permits more last minute, like in the summer, and then also on about walk-up permits?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a whole different category I didn't talk about. So basically I recommend like getting them early just because it's like you'll have more odds of getting what you want. But of course, usually like we're college students, things happen last minute. So you can still get permits. There might, and like I said, they have rolling permits. So they like kind of upload more on there over time too. So you might get lucky, and when you go on, you find some. So a good idea is like if you're looking for a place, just check like every day and see what's there. Also, there's a thing called walk-up permits, which is a different sort of thing. But basically, you drive all the way out there, and maybe you stop at the ranger station and say like, "Hey, we're looking to go up to this this trail today. Is there any walk-up permits available?" And then they'll tell you. And sometimes they hold like a few for walk-ups every day, so you might get lucky. But it's just a little bit more of a crapshoot because you might not get lucky, and then you have to have a backup plan ready. But it's definitely something you can do. And actually, we did this. I think we did it on this trip to Kearsarge, and it was not ideal, but I think we got walk-ups and it worked.
Yeah, wait, are you talking about the Kearsarge trip like a couple years ago, Tyler?
Yeah, you remember?
Oh my God. Yeah. Basically, we had like a group of 15, and like we tried to get walk-up permits in one place, but there wasn't enough. So we got like permits for like two, I forget if it was the same trail or if it was like two different trails, but going the opposite direction or something. But
I remember.
Yeah.
I think it was a
It was a little
completely
sus,
different
is what
trail.
it was.
it was, yeah.
It was not ideal.
Yeah. Basically, don't do that.
Yeah,
So,
and if you
in
get caught out there without a
conclusion-
permit, then they'll fine you. Like,
yeah.
Well,
In conclusion, advance, like save your permit in advance.
yeah, the $6 that it costs is way cheaper than the $300 fine or whatever. So, yeah.
When you do buy like or like when you go to look for permits and like you find a spot to kind of set in or whatever, go in, is that after that point, like once you determine where you can actually get in, is that how you kind of plan your trip, like decide where you're going to go after that?
Yeah, ideally you get the permits first, I guess, and like see what's available. But yeah, either way, or you can kind of figure out your plans beforehand and then get the permit. But yeah, probably get the permit first.
And just to be sure, the numbers that they have on some of those days are like the number of permits that they'll give out or the number of permits they've already given out?
Those are the ones available.
Okay.
So they'll start usually at like 15 or something, and then it goes down from there. Yeah.
Those numbers can change day by day though, like as people cancel permits and stuff. Like later in the season, you'll see some more of them open up as people realize like, oh, I don't actually want to go. Because I think it's one of the requirements that you have to cancel your permit if you're not actually going to show up.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a good point.
So you can like usually snag some like of the ones, like if it's like really close to the date that you want to go, there's usually some that open up then.
And kind of the more research you do, or like the more background you have, I guess you can like do things more on the fly. But if you're like more of a beginner, then it's probably better to get a permit in advance, and so you don't have to worry about it. Anything else?
I feel enlightened.
What?
I feel
Me
enlightened.
too. I do
Oh,
as well.
enlightened.
Thanks,
Okay,
Tyler.
awesome. Yeah, glad you liked it. Well, I hope you guys learned something today. And we'll post these slides in the general, and as well as I'll try and put those links in there in case you want to go and get permits right away. But yeah, thanks for coming out to our seminar. I believe, do we have anything else to pitch? We've got a social next week, I believe. All right, well, we'll get on that. You'll see that in the Slack. So just stay tuned, Slack, Instagram. We'll post our next few events for the quarter. But thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks,
Dude.
Tyler.
Everyone.
Bye.
guys.